that was something that was like really kind of mind-blowing to me as like a 21-year-old. I was like, whoa, morally gray. Hi, hello, welcome to the video of poorly applied lipstick, gender dysphoria, and what my roommate liked to call spicy China boys. This is from when I was weighing for Halloween, but like a gender bend weighing because I still thought I was a girl. The Untamed spicy China boys, or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, however you want to call it. I call it The Untamed because I watched the live action show first. It started out as like this weird Chinese corn novel and became a live action TV show and an animated TV show, and it kind of blew everybody's mind. I don't even know where to start. This one's so big, and it's also probably feels so big because it's quite recent. It's still a little bit of an obsession of mine. There's a video on this channel of me reading Untamed fanfiction, so. Anyway, I think I want to start with Wei Ying because he's the main character. Obviously, I'm dressed up as him. We're going with Wei Ying. If you're unaware of the story, he's the main character. He dies, spoiler alert, and he sacrifices a lot to do what he feels is right, and everybody's always telling him like, no, you can't do that, that's a bad idea. And this came at a really pivotal point in my life where I was figuring out who I was, right? I was figuring out gender and sexuality stuff, right? And everybody in my family and kind of every way that I had grown up was like, no, that's wrong, you can't do that, that's bad. God likes you when you're cishet and straight. But wait, I feel differently. I feel gender fluid. I like women. So this came at a point in my life where I kind of had to really stand on my ground, dig my heels in, and coming out, me kind of digging my heels in and finally being like, no, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, this is who I am, came with a lot of negative repercussions. It was not easy. I didn't get to see my best friend get married. I had to wait outside. I had a lot of people tell me that like being non-binary isn't even real, and it was hard. It was really, really hard. And having Wei Ying, right, he went through all of these horrible things to protect the innocent, to stand up for what he believed in, and I kind of got to hold on to that as an example, as it's possible you can do this, even though it's just a story. He's not real. Even if you get nothing from it, even if everything goes horribly and terribly wrong, it's still important to stand up for what you believe in and stand up for what you feel is right. And then, you know, he comes back to life and gets to marry the love of his life, gets to, you know, avenge all of these wrongdoings that happened to him before he died, and that gave me hope that one day I would find my Lanjian, that there would be somebody who would see me and would see me standing for my truth and be like, wow, that's impressive. That's attractive. I want to be with this person. I want to learn more about this person. And that kind of, no matter how much the world and everybody else stands against you, there's a possibility for love. I've always kind of been a hopeless romantic, and the love story of Lanjian and Wei Ying has just like pierced my heart, and that's something that I get to hope for. And like breakups that I've been through since then, I was like, it's okay, one day I will find the Wei Ying to my Lanjian, or the Lanjian to my Wei Ying. One day it'll happen, and it's like obviously a fictional story, but I was kind of rejecting everything that I thought made me desirable as a human in order to do what I knew was right for me and to live an authentic life. And so their love story is just so inspiring to me. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, even if you're rejected by normal society, there's someone that will love you. That again kind of spoke to like my wounded inner child, as dramatic as that sounds, who kind of grew up hating themselves. That like there's always something, right? And I've held that, and that kept that with me, that like sometimes it turns out all right. It doesn't always, but sometimes it will. Another thing, this one's one of my favorites. We see Lanjian in the story kind of battling with this world that he thought was black and white, but there's some gray area, because Wei Ying lives and operates in this gray area. Like, he does some things that are kind of questionable, but like he does it for good reasons, and we see Lanjian, this man that he's been in love with, you know, since he was a teenager, seeing him do things that he's been taught his whole life are wrong, but doing them to protect the innocent, which is something that he knows is right. And again, this came to me at a time where I was coming to terms with things that are outside of what I had been taught was right. And again, being autistic, I see things in a very black and white way. That's kind of how my brain's wired. And so watching him kind of come to terms with that kind of helped me come to terms with that. And coming to terms with people in my past who I had kind of categorized as bad, right? Kind of put them in the timeout corner, like, of my life. Like, you stay in the timeout corner, you did bad things, I don't want to talk to you. And seeing him kind of grapple with someone doing things that he's like, I've been taught my whole life this is bad, and like seeing him struggle with that helped me to kind of take those people out of the timeout corner of my life and re-examine them. And though I still kind of struggle with it and not always like, I'm like, yes, people are morally gray, and I'm totally okay with that. It like helped me to start being okay with that and seeing people as morally gray and seeing things as morally gray. Because obviously, you know, there are things that are right and things that are wrong, but people, there aren't people that are right and people that are wrong. Obviously, there are the exceptions like Hitler and Jesus, you know, that are like kind of fall pretty firmly into either of those two categories. Most normal people live and reside in the gray area, and you know, my autistic brain my whole life was like, good people, bad people, sorting them. And this kind of helped me be like, people are just people. It's just people. Those people who maybe had done and caused awful things in my life before, that was bad and that sucked and that was not good, but that doesn't make them horrible, awful, terrible people that I never get to talk to ever again. And obviously it's important to like set boundaries, and if someone's harmful for you, don't talk to them. But it helped me kind of reconcile and settle in my mind that even if I did bad things, right, if I did things that were not in line with my values, that were not in line with how I wanted to behave as a person, that didn't make me all bad. Because most normal people kind of just live in the gray area, and some people are more good than bad, and some people are more bad than good, right? It helped me kind of come to terms with the fact that the world is not black and white. And that was something that was like really kind of mind-blowing to me as like a 21-year-old. I was like, whoa, morally gray. Because especially like growing up in the Mormon church, it was like, this is bad, this is good, and you must do the good things and not ever do the bad things or you're going to hell. Another thing that it taught me is Yeonli, Wei Ying's like adopted sister. She's super nurturing and stereotypically feminine, and she likes to cook. And these are things that had kind of all like been encouraged in me as a child, being super nurturing and like liking to cook and like keep house, whatever the heck that means, that I had kind of rejected because I was like, that's part of my past, that's part of the old Dan. Like, I can't be that anymore if I want to be non-binary, if I want to be all of these other things that I am. I can't be these things. And this character that everybody loved, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I love Yeonli so much, she's one of my favorites, and you know, she's beloved by pretty much everybody in the show, helped me kind of come to terms with, okay, these don't have to be all that I am, but it's part of who I am, and that's okay. I can be a little bit more nurturing, I can do these things that are stereotypically feminine but still be Dan and still be able to be a complex character, because like in the novel the women aren't super complex and they're not super complex in the show either, but kind of the way that the fan base has embraced her and given her more complex characteristics kind of taught me that I could have those stereotypically like feminine traits but still be a whole complex person, and that just because they had been encouraged in my past and like I was kind of in that phase of like rejecting all I had been taught, that I could still kind of keep that. I asked my mom, like, Mom, what was I like as a little kid? And she's like, you were like super nurturing, like you loved your baby dolls and like, you know, you always wanted to take care of your little brother. And so like that's intrinsically like a part of who I am. But when I was like rejecting all of these things that I was not, I started to kind of reject that too. But again, that wasn't being authentic because it was part of who I was, and the character of Jeong Yeon-lee helped me to kind of embrace that and be okay with that. I could talk forever and ever about this show, but those are kind of like the main things that it taught me, is that it's okay to push against the mainstream for things that you believe are right. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to be okay with your life. You're the one who has to be okay with your actions. It's not other people's problem. They're gonna have a problem with it, and like you might get into some sticky situations because of it, but in the end it's worth it. And then again, realizing that people aren't bad, people aren't good, they're just kind of people, and embracing parts of myself that I had rejected. Anyway, again, hopefully you learned something from this, from my takeaways from the show. Maybe even you just learned that you might want to go watch it on Netflix because it's a really good show. If that's all you learned, then I feel like my work here is done. I I will see you next time there's content. Goodbye.